1. How is aluminum hiding inside Tesla's 2027 battery plan?
Let's start with a name most of us have heard, but very few actually follow: Jeff Dahn. He is a battery scientist at Dalhousie University in Canada. Tesla locked him up in an exclusive research partnership back in 2016. You see? Exclusive. Which means whatever Dahn's lab figures out, Tesla gets first, and nobody else gets it at all. But before we continue, let's take a challenge.
How many battery scientists can you name without using Google?
How many battery scientists can you name without using Google? List in your head and share with me in the comments. If you can only name Elon Musk, nothing special. If you named J.B. Straubel, okay, you're a day one Tesla fan. But if you didn't instantly think of Jeff Dahn, you are about to meet one of the most influential people in Tesla's battery story. The battery world follows Dahn the way the NFL fans follow a generational quarterback. When he publishes, people pay attention. When his lab goes quiet on a topic, it usually means Tesla's already working on it behind closed doors. In October 2019, Dahn's team filed a patent. Let me say, it's method for synthesizing nickel-cobalt-aluminum electrodes. Almost nobody connected what it actually means.
Here's the part you need to slow down and actually think about.
Nickel, cobalt, and aluminum are the chemistry inside the battery that powers every Tesla Model S ever made. It's been in Tesla's DNA since day one. And the reason Tesla chose NCA over the competition, that little 3% of aluminum is sitting in the cathode. That tiny slice of aluminum is what gives NCA its edge in energy density. It changes how the crystal holds lithium ions, which changes how much energy you can pack in, which changes how far the car goes.
But there's a problem.
When you try to grow NCA into a single crystal, which is what you need for a battery that survives thousands of charge cycles instead of hundreds, the aluminum causes a reaction at high temperatures. The aluminum bonds with excess lithium and locks it into a more stable form. But that stable form takes up space in the electrode. It doesn't store energy. It doesn't conduct anything useful. Engineers literally call it dead mass. Dead mass in a battery cell is like you're carrying a full backpack on a sprint. You're working just as hard. You're getting nowhere near as far. So what did Dahn's team do? They found a way to keep aluminum from turning into useless dead weight inside the battery. The result was a cleaner electrode, longer battery life, and cells that survived more than 4,000 charge cycles in testing. That's the foundation behind the million-mile battery you've probably heard about. Now pause for a second. Think about what Tesla just quietly demonstrated. They were solving one of the biggest obstacles to using it in advanced battery materials. They patented the process, kept working with Dahn's team, and quietly built years of expertise around aluminum chemistry long before most people were paying attention. But cracking the chemistry is only half the battle, because even if you know exactly how to build an aluminum-heavy battery cell, you still have to make it at scale, in a factory, without poisoning the ground around it. This is the part that almost no one ever talks about. And it's the part that's going to make you look at Giga Nevada completely differently. Making cathode materials for lithium batteries, NCA, NMC, anything nickel-based with aluminum, generates a brutal amount of industrial waste. We're talking up to 4,000 gallons of contaminated wastewater per ton of cathode material produced. Suddenly, Nevada doesn't look like the easiest place in the world to build a battery empire anymore, does it? Full of ammonia, dissolved heavy metals, and particles you do not want anywhere near a water table. Now look at where Giga Nevada sits, middle of the Nevada desert, some of the most water-stressed land in America. Environmental regulators who will shut you down fast if your discharge numbers are wrong. If Tesla was going to scale up any aluminum-containing battery chemistry in Nevada, not just the current NCA lines, but anything more ambitious, they had a problem, and they solved it in the quietest way imaginable. Let's go back to September 2020, 2 weeks before Battery Day. A small Toronto-based battery startup called Spring Power International had its website replaced by a blank holding page. Gone. If you followed Tesla long enough, you know this pattern. A company disappears. a website disappears. Then a few months later, Tesla starts talking about a breakthrough nobody saw coming. And a few months later that moment, several of Spring Power's top engineers showed up on LinkedIn with new job titles at Tesla. So what did Spring Power actually do? They developed a process that continuously reuses the same chemical solution instead of throwing it away after each step. As a result, the factory produces little to no liquid waste. Let me say again, zero wastewater in the Nevada desert. At Battery Day, Drew Baglino stood on stage and described this exact process without naming Spring Power and said it could cut cathode manufacturing operating costs by more than 75%. He also pointed out clearly,
we can also use that same process we showed on the previous page to directly consume the metal powder coming out of recycled electric vehicle and grid storage batteries.
think about what that sentence means in 2027 terms. Tesla's Nevada campus is making batteries. Batteries eventually come back. The recycled metal, including aluminum, feeds directly back into the precursor process. The loop closes. The desert stays dry. Tesla didn't just solve a chemistry problem. They solved the manufacturing problem and the environmental problem at the same time, without a single press release.
So here's where we actually stand.
Wall 1, controlling aluminum behavior at the atomic level in a battery electrode, solved. Wall 2, manufacturing aluminum-containing cathode materials at scale in the Nevada desert without destroying the environment, solved. Which raises an uncomfortable question.
If Tesla has already solved the chemistry challenge and the manufacturing challenge, why would they stop now?
That's the Wall 3, the electrolyte problem, where aluminum-ion chemistry still corrodes itself from the inside out, where even the most advanced research teams in the world are sitting at technology readiness level 4, not solved by anyone, including Tesla. That's also what might make things difficult for aluminum-ion batteries if it were in Tesla's 2027 roadmap. But don't worry, Tesla has already done the prerequisite work. The stuff that has to exist before aluminum-ion can ever become real at scale. They've done it, quietly, methodically, in a way that looks like they were solving other problems. Maybe they were. Maybe this is all a coincidence and Tesla has zero interest in aluminum-ion chemistry for vehicles. Or maybe that company is not done with aluminum yet. If you've ever wondered how Tesla keeps seeing the next move before the rest of the industry, subscribe to autogearshift. Because what's actually happening in Nevada in 2027 is stranger and more ambitious than anything most videos have invented.
2. What's shocking about Giga Nevada's entire 2027 production map?
Most people think Giga Nevada is one factory. It's not. By 2027, Nevada may be doing something much bigger. It may be supplying the batteries for nearly everything Tesla wants to become. 4 completely different operations running on the same campus. Each one is making something different. Each one feeds something else. And when you see how they connect, the whole picture shifts. Let's walk through it fast. The first building, Panasonic's 2,170 lines, has been running for almost a decade, still churning out cells for Model 3 and Model Y. Proven, stable, not going anywhere. The second building, brand new, is where Tesla is now assembling semi-trucks. Volume production started March 2026. But why did Tesla choose Nevada specifically? Because the 4680 cells that power the Semi are made on the same campus. For 3 years, batteries were one of the biggest reasons the Semi couldn't scale. So Tesla did something very Tesla. They stopped moving batteries to the truck. They moved the truck to the batteries. That single decision, building the Semi factory next to the cell factory, is what killed the bottleneck that delayed the Semi for 3 straight years. While every other electric truck company on Earth ships cells from somewhere else, Tesla doesn't. The third building, this is where it gets weird. We heard that Tesla took manufacturing equipment from CATL and used it to build its own LFP cell factory inside Nevada. But let that sink in for a second. Tesla used CATL's own equipment to build a factory that makes Tesla's own cells. Think about how crazy that is. Tesla didn't copy CATL. Tesla didn't license CATL batteries. Tesla took manufacturing equipment originally designed around CATL's expertise and used it to build Tesla-controlled battery production on American soil. The fourth building, the 4680 expansion. Target capacity, 100 gigawatt hours eventually. That's enough cells for 1.5 million vehicles a year. And as of January 2026, Tesla confirmed both the anode and cathode of the 4680 are now made using the full dry electrode process. Elon called it incredibly difficult. It took 5 years. It's done.
Now, here's the part that should genuinely mess with your head.
All 4 of those buildings are on one campus, one zip code in Sparks, Nevada. Step back for a second. Semi, Megapack, vehicles. They're 3 different customers competing for the same batteries. And Nevada is sitting right in the middle of all of them. Panasonic still running in the background. A lithium refinery in Texas feeds the cathode plant in Austin, which feeds Nevada. A recycling loop built on Spring Power's zero effluent process. No other company on the planet has this. Not GM, not Ford, not BYD, not even CATL, which makes more batteries than anyone, has this level of vertical integration in a single location in the Western world.
But here's the thing that actually keeps Tesla's competitors up at night.
It's not the technology. They can study the patents. They can hire the engineers. They can eventually figure out the dry electrode process. What can they not copy?
That's the system.
Because the real moat isn't any single building in Nevada. It's that Tesla built an entire manufacturing ecosystem where every piece depends on and strengthens every other piece. The semi-factory only works because the cell factory is next door. The cell factory only works because the cathode plant is in Texas. The cathode plant only works because the lithium refinery in Corpus Christi, which is the first spodumene to lithium hydroxide refinery in North America, is running. You can't just build one piece of this and compete. You have to build all of it, simultaneously, over the years. Without stopping. Tesla has been doing that since 2019. Now take a step back and look at the pattern. Tesla solved the aluminum problem inside the battery. Tesla solved the manufacturing problem outside the battery. And they did both years before anyone was seriously talking about aluminum-ion vehicles. Coincidence? Maybe. But after looking at Nevada deeper, it felt less like a factory expansion. It felt like preparation. Companies don't usually spend years removing obstacles from a road they never plan to travel, which makes Nevada feel a lot less like the end of a story and a lot more like the beginning of one. Tesla has already built an entire closed battery system. So what will they use it for? What is another plan Musk is running? And what phase are we in? And we're not done with that puzzle yet on autogearshift.